個係咪好光？我還好。
Hello, good evening from Macau, and welcome to this series of debates on this small but amazing city. Macau Business TV Debates is basically a talk show in partnership with Cunha Foundation, where I'm standing right now live with our three guests. Over the next, let's say, 60 to 75 minutes, we will try to analyze one of the evergreen hot topics in Macau, real estate. What is the impact of this pandemic on the sector, if any? What are the best investment opportunities? And what is going on with Cheng, the island right next door to us, where every week a new skyscraper appears? Are we going to grow together, or is cannibalization predictable? In this studio, in front of a live audience, we have Alex Cheng, General Manager of Ambient Properties, Mark Wong, Director of John Lang LaSalle, and Nestor, President of Anzac. Thank you all for joining us and for sharing with us your insights, and I'm sure some valuable info. MBtv Debates will bring you several series of talk shows. This one on real estate is included in our business series. But before we start, let me also introduce my co-host and Macau Business Magazine Director, José Carlos Matias, who is in the MBtv studio on the other side of the city. Hello, José. Ready to start?
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Absolutely ready. Greetings to all of you, you, Paulo, the guest speakers, and all of those who are joining us physically at Cunha Foundation and who are joining us via Zoom. Well, absolutely ready. Live from our headquarters, Macau Business and Project Asia Corporation, and from our MBtv studios. Let's lay the foundations and break the ground.
Okay, thanks. This is a mix, live audience and webinar. So feel free to prepare your questions here in the auditorium, but also where you are watching us all over the world. It is being streamed live on the Cunha Foundation Facebook page, as well as on Macau Business Facebook page. So a lot of coverage for a very hot topic. Let's start, and the starting point could be none other than the current state of real estate market in Macau. Mark, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay.
What is the actual impact of the pandemic in this sector here in the city?
Okay, good evening. Thanks for having me. The global economy was badly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and hinders a lot of economic activities and travels between countries. So indeed Macau also impacted as well, but each polarized into two directions. We can see that for the retail and the hotel sector was facing the biggest hit, and whilst the office and the residential market rely on more domestic demand, are generally resilient. So in general, according to our in-house index for the residential, the price change and the rental change is relatively small compared to other sectors. For the luxury and the mass and medium market, which dropped about 8.7% or 3.7% compared to the end of last year. And for the office sector, which is much more resilient, and the price and the rental are more stable, and the fluctuation is just around 2%. But for the retail sector, which was hit a lot, in general, the drop could be up to 20%, but in some other core retail or tourism areas, it could be more, depends on the location. This is the general view. Yeah.
So, of course, Macau is following the trend of everywhere in the world. However, being a smaller place without much land tends to be a little bit more controlled. So even if there's a fluctuation of prices going down, but Nestor doesn't seem to be very down.
Well, again, thanks for the invitation today. And then, so what Mark just mentioned about that, yes, overall the general market has been affected by the transaction, of course. But after the March, like starting from April, May, it seems like the buying power is just like come back to pretty normal within the local market. Because one of the reasons for the real estate professionals like us here, we do see the demands are still around, especially the first-time home buyers. And also, because of the new policies that like if you own one property, the second property, you have to pay 5% extra stamp duty, and the third and above, you have to pay 10%. But a lot of like home...
let me interrupt you. And,
okay.
And these were some of the changes that the government put it in the market not long ago, a couple of years ago, a kind to protect to avoid the bubbles and to make it the market a little bit more, to cool down a little bit the market, right?
To protect, yeah.
Because the market in Macau has been very hot all the time.
Yes. So the pandemic actually, like myself, like ourselves, we've been like staying within the city. So what else can be invested? So stock market been quite volatile. Whatever I can say, volatile. So people will come back and look at the local market. So okay, when they see there are some needs, maybe upgrade, not only for the first-time home buyer. Because once you're being like, I can use the word, you're stuck at home. You're safely stuck at home. Then you will kind of like realize, oh, maybe between husband and wife or the family, they will realize, oh, maybe I need one more bathroom. Now everybody at home at the same time. So there are some needs might arise. So then housing needs might be one of the topics that they are looking into. So from the pandemic point of view, I see some of my friends and clients, they do see, oh, the needs for their housing kind of like change. And then they look for some other options. So you will see a lot of activities. Basically, yes, like what Mark just said, yeah, used to be we relied on a lot of like buyers from overseas or tenants from overseas. But in the past months, we do see a lot of local clients that they do have some new requests. Oh, Nestor, we need like a 3-bedroom instead of 2. I cannot stand that, like my wife been using the bathroom for 2 hours. I cannot do it. I need another bathroom. So that's why we do see some kind of like new user or new requests. I mean, like back to, you just asked me about, these are some changes we do see in the local markets. Yeah.
So, Alex, can we say that probably now it's not the best time to sell, but is a great time to buy?
Before we jump into a conclusion whether like it is a good time to sell or to buy, like I always believe that we should look at the market as a whole, and then like there's a couple of like factors we can take into account. Like for example, I always will look at the policy, because policy will influence the economy. Economy will influence the supply and demand, and eventually property price is driven by the supply and demand. And now like during the pandemic period, like this factor is now influence the policy. So that's why like the Macau government has introduced some measure a couple months ago to stabilize the market. And one particular measure related to real estate is called mortgage principal moratorium. So meaning that the property owner doesn't need to pay the principal for 6 months, like because I heard like some bank offered 6 months, and now they intend to extend the period from 6 months to 12 months. So like and during that period of time, they just paid like the interest. So like it helps quite a lot, and this kind of measure fully support the individual owner. They imagine like if they lose the job, like during this period of time, they're not in hurry to sell their property. So therefore, like you don't see the property price like changing quite a lot during this period of time.
We saw that the government in Macau tried to cool down a little bit to avoid the market to get into a bubble, because we all know Macau, but if you, anywhere you are, if you are leading an investment fund or interested in Macau, Macau is like Hong Kong and Singapore, small cities without land. Of course, land is gold. So government introduced some measures to cool down the market. Now we are dealing with COVID. Would you advise, if you could, the government to freeze a little some of the measures until there's a vaccine and the COVID disappears from our lives, in order to facilitate the property market to have more transactions, more business?
Right. Like Nestor mentioned, like there's another like measure introduced like in 2018, like a special stamp duty, the buyer's stamp duty, that stopped quite a lot of speculation like in the market, and it's tend to be like and encourage more local to buy property and exclude those investor or the Macau ID holder to buy and to do the investment here. So like however, like after like 2 years, what we've seen, like especially the mortgage scheme, like meaning that like anything under 8 million, the buyer can borrow 80% of mortgage from the bank.
8 million patakas is around
Patakas.
1 million US dollars.
Something like that, more or less. So and therefore, like we see the unbalanced situation in market. Like according to the transaction, like statistic figures from the government, and over 85% of purchasers are the first-time home buyer. So and just because of the mortgage scheme, like what the bank offers. So like we see this situation, but over the past 2 years, this situation and or this like mortgage scheme has not been reviewed. So like we can come into a situation like I think we can suggest to review the scheme and propose some sliding scale. Like Esther mentioned, some family they want to upgrade, but that they are not able to pay 50% to upgrade to a 3-bedroom because it's over 8 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just hope that some of the government officials in Macau are attending this webinar as well, and they'll have your comments. I'll continue with you, Alex, since your agency has a good position locally in terms of home rental, mainly to foreigners, a kind of niche market. Because the profile of some of the people that are attending this webinar and conference, talk show, is that it's the ones that they would like to do. They're looking for an opportunity to see when to invest and where to invest. So let's forget now the Macau permanent residents. Let's go for a foreign investment. What would be at this moment, what are the areas in the city that you would recommend to buy for a better return on the investment?
Right. Personally, I always recommend to buy the second-hand property, something like under 6 million. Because especially like imagine you buy the old property, first of all, you don't need to pay the management fee, and you spend some money to upgrade it, and you probably will you achieve the higher rental yield. We have some successful case in Old Taipei Village. So those property are age property, but that they are within the charming area. So this kind of a property attract quite a lot of expats who are willing to pay the premium to find their home, not the property, right? So this is like kind of a property that we can suggest to the investor if they want to achieve the high rental yield, rather than to pay the 5 or 6 million to buy a studio, and you have to pay the management fee.
Nestor, how have the rents been affected? I'm guessing tenants have been negotiating the lowering of rents. If so, until when? Is it normally case by case, according to your experience? What's going on the rental market, and what's the overall percentage of that rental drop?
So basically for the residential units, it's been like the most important part or the worst part was like March and April, I would say March. During that period of time, majority of our landlords, they are willing to lower maybe 20% or even 30%. And some of the landlords, they even like offered like as long as, for example, some of the shops owner nearby the tourist area or the gaming facility areas, they are willing to offer like 50% until the casino reopen, because they know that, okay, the casino business is related to the nearby, the merchants business. So I would say the shop rental fees in those gaming areas compared to last year, maybe about 20-25% drop. But again, when you ask about the rental market for commercial spaces that is not in the touristy area, for example, like in this central area or in the central Taipei area or in the Haksawan area, it seems like the rental haven't been dropped at all. Because of the business owner, during the pandemic, we can see like a lot of different type of business, actually they're doing better than before. As long as we are talking about online and offline. So if you're doing well online, we do see a lot of like small business owner, for example, like maybe food and beverages and food supplier or service suppliers. And then I don't know if you all see, like we see a lot of like fitness center that is like starting up in Macau. Not only fitness or maybe physical related business. So those actually they're expanding. So we do see like different markets have different rent changes. So again, like nearby the gaming area, the hospitality area, the tourist area, that might be affected. But for those districts, a lot of local needs, it seems like there are a lot of new business are starting up. Especially I do see like the smaller scale of the takeaway shops and also the restaurants.
Mark, John Lang LaSalle has a portfolio of a lot of commercial buildings, yes. the buildings, the old building, etc. So is it the same? Are the rents dropping a little bit, but not too much? What's going on?
For which sector?
For business, big business.
As what Nestor just mentioned, for the business, for the retailer in the core area, actually the rental dropped a lot. Some of them, some of the landlords offer short-term rental cut for their occupiers, for the tenants, which could be up to 20 to 50%. We also have some of the new tenants rent a shop in the core area in Senado Square. The drop could be up to 70% drop, which is back to the rent 10 years ago, and which is crazy. But in some domestic area, we did see some rental stable, and some of them even recorded rental increment around 10% in the domestic area. And if you look at the retail sales, all sectors are dropped by almost 50%. But if you look at the sector of supermarket and grocery, and which was increased about 40% compared to the last quarter YOY. I think it's because of the government have do a good job to support the SME to boost the local consumptions by introducing the local consumption.
The vouchers.
Yeah, the vouchers.
At least to some SMEs, not
Yeah.
all, unfortunately. But yes, but we're talking food and beverage, we're talking pharmacies, for instance, supermarkets. So for the people that they don't know, the Macau government introduced it to all permanent residents, 3,000 Hong Kong dollar per takas voucher to develop the domestic consumption. And now a second wave of that support value at 5,000 per person, which it's very interesting as we can see a lot of not many tourists at all, but the hotels, especially during weekends, and the restaurants are full with the families taking advantage of this to gather and enjoying.
Staycation.
Staycation. Yeah.
It's time for them to review the strategy to target the local customer.
Yes, when we're talking about the retail sales in the past, when the business are good, and the retail sales by the local customers and the tourists is around 50%. But now, the retail sales is accounting for almost 80% by the local domestic consumers. So we will see the demand and impressive demand from the local side. And if you look at recently around in Macau, we see some of the large retailers like the IKEA, the houseware stores, the Thai supermarket, and the Thai fish restaurant opened the first store in Macau, which target the local customers. And it all well responded by the market, and it all clearly proved that the potential of the local market. So in the future, I believe that the F&B, lifestyle, and leisure entertainment will be the focus in the medium trend. Yeah.
So let me interrupt this to ask you, if you're watching us in your office, at home, any part of the world, if you have any questions, so feel free to send it through Zoom. My colleague José Carlos Matias is over there in our studio to take care of that. Also through Facebook, if you have questions, please send it to us, and then we'll make sure that we'll ask to the panel of our guests. Zé Carlos, if you want as well, feel free to interrupt us, as well as here in the audience, if you have questions. This is supposed to be a talk show, so let's talk, not only us, but everybody here, so everybody is welcome. So, we already spoke here that the more touristy areas have been affected the most. Without tourists, tenants really need to have a good cut on the rent. My guests already said in some cases went as much as a 50% cut on the rent. Otherwise, they couldn't survive. Regarding shops, what has been the impact on more rents? You already spoke about it. I'd like to Nestor to know a little bit more on the domestic market that has shown renewed strength with local residents taking more advantage. Because Macau, before we used to have way more percentage of a foreign investment, even in shops, even in the more touristic areas like Senado Square or São Paulo ruins. But more and more local people are launching their own shops in a way to take advantage also of this consumption from the government, the support from the government. This is a trend that might continue, you think, or everything will go back to normal as soon as COVID goes away?
Actually, in the past 6 months, after the COVID started, and then a lot of like a business owner and also business sector people are reviewing their business plans, like ourselves. So do we really rely on overseas foreign investors or other sources? So like back to the commercial shop we discussed before, like for example, now you're showing like a quiet street, right? Well, I mean, like a lot of like a business owner, it really depends if they're willing to change their business plan. Like marketing, for example, like now a lot of like customers, they're going on Facebook. I mean, now we are doing Facebook Live and Zoom Live. And then also if they're willing to put their business on the Facebook or even in the main Xiaohongshu is one of the very popular app that people, tourists are using it, like Meituan or Meituan, a lot of those. For the way I see like the rental market, it really depends on how the tenant, if they're willing to change their business model. And at the same time, we actually, hopefully, the government can do some more maybe supporting program. Because right now, they sponsor the SME, maybe like a kind of like if you have like a plan, they sponsor you 5,000, 10,000, or like even though they're working with the lenders, with like the interest-free loan, a lot of different scheme. So for the rental market, we do see, like I said before, in this touristy area, we do see like some of the cafes, they are doing a lot of promotion to the local residents. If you're using like the voucher, they will give you maybe 10% off or additional bonus for the spending voucher. So the market is not like following one same formula. If you do change, at least the business can recover. So I don't know if like Alex or Mark, you have anything to?
Yeah, totally agree with you.
Great. Well said.
If you'll vote it, you're already president, so
No.
we could vote it.
No.
You.
Great support.
Let's go to some data, and I don't know if it's possible to show. I guess but you can see this is normally one of the hottest places in Macau. We can't basically we can't walk. It's a fight with a lot of people, a lot of tourists. Let's remind our audience that last year we had around 40 million visitors, and we are less than 700,000 people city. So, but some of us, we were complaining in the past, too much people. Now we are complaining, there's no people. We want people back to Macau. And we'll talk about that because people are coming. We'll get back to that. Let's go to Macau's Finance Bureau data. Shows that 85% of residents who bought a home in the first 6 months of the year, some 2,500 residents did so for the first time. So it's quite an interesting number. And I remember a couple of years ago a number that it happened for the first time ever in Macau, in the Macau history, that for the first time ever, the majority of buyers that bought it a house as a second house, not a home to live, a house for investment. For the first time ever, 51%, the majority were Macau people. Until then, it was always investment. So it shows also that there's money in this market, and local people are investing more and buying not only the first home, but also a second home and a third home for investments. So can we say, or maybe it's to exaggerate to say that these residents that are taking advantage of the opportunity to buy are so far one of the beneficiaries of what we're living nowadays? That means the COVID and the fact that the prices might go low a little bit. They have a little bit of money savings. The family is growing, and they're taking opportunity to buy a property for them.
Yeah,
You go ahead.
I think it's not surprising because in Macau, almost 70% of the residents are living in their own properties or the family-owned property. So in the transaction volume actually dropped 2 years ago when the double stamp duty was first introduced by the government to the city. So actually the pure investment for the residential actually vanished after that. So now most of them are young local residents buying the house for their self-occupation. So I think it's a common phenomenon to show that the percentage, and they also benefit from the higher loan-to-value ratio for the new policy released by the government 2 years ago. So that's why we can see that the percentage of the young buyers are increasing.
Yeah, and we do see the huge demand for the first-time home buyer as well. And actually, Ambient organized one seminar for the first home buyer in May this year, and we see quite a lot of positive response. And they are eager to get to know the process of the purchase of property. And we also see some statistics not only covered 2020, since this measure has been introduced in 2018. The percentage of 85% has been quite stable. So meaning that most of the home purchaser are first home buyer. So we do see the demand.
So 70% of Macau families own their own home, which is an
85,
amazing
85.
85%.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's for the first home.
For the first home.
Yeah, you're correct.
Which is 70% for the first home.
67 to 7%.
Which is an amazing percentage. It's probably difficult to find some other places in the world, probably Luxembourg or Qatar to compete on this high percentage. So basically the families have more or less a good income. Can we say that for property in Macau, the biggest problem so far is lack of land?
May I add something?
Please.
Previously, and then in addition, they are first-hand, the new releases from the developers. Not only developers, but at the same time, the lenders in Macau. All the lenders, major lenders, they are offering special financing programs. They target of course, the permanent residents. If you're talking about the 8 million and below, they offer 20% loan to value. 20% down payment and 80% loan to value. So, and also they offer the different kind of payment schedules. Developers offer, okay, maybe in the very beginning, if you
basically replacing a little bit the banks, because that was the traditional job of the bank, right?
Exactly.
And now the developer
it's like a financing strategy. Financing strategy.
As a consequence also of the new measures by the government, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. developers are creating or thinking of some new flexible plans. For example, they have plan A that if you can pay in all, that you get a certain percentage discount. But if you want to like have like only 10% down payment, the deposit, then you can get your property like maybe within 6 or 9 months, and then the financing will be in place. So at least there are like a lot of flexibilities in different options. That makes a lot of first-time home buyer, or even though for the people who change new places. And then again, the most important part is, one of the most important measures is like our government offers. If you have like 1 property on hand, if you purchase the second property, you have to pay 5% extra. But if you sell your primary residence within the 12 months, you can get that 5% rebate back, refund back from the financial department. So that's a lot of encouragement, like from the developer side, from the lender side, from the financial department side, a lot of such supports in order for you to purchase your first home or you change your home. So a lot of different reasons to make them feel that, okay, let's do it. Because in April, in May, and in June, a lot of like the market, like us, we look at the price per square feet. It didn't drop much. Some of those smaller units, it even go beyond like 12,000 per square feet. The brand new condominium units. So it seems like we are catching up like the nearby cities, like Hong Kong, Tokyo. Used to be like a 1,200 square feet. 2-bedroom is very reasonable for Macau. Like 3 bedrooms, we're talking about 1,500 square feet. But nowadays, a lot of units, we are talking about like 900 square feet for 3 bedrooms, or like 600 square feet for 2 bedrooms, which I think is okay, because it really depends on the interior design and how much space you need. But like back to your question is like, first of all, it's about the developer, the lender, and also the government. A lot of like things that put into the same boat, and it makes it work. Yeah.
We're talking about the domestic markets, and you brought this
The table, yeah.
Yeah. Can you?
Oh, this is
explain
actually
this
3
more?
of us. We always like every single month we do look at the financial department data. So you can see like the transaction in the first half of July, and then you see the Taipei side, the Kuala Lumpur side, and then in Macau side you do see different districts. There are like up and down per square footage. You see like the transaction of the price. Also you see like, for example, in the central area, there are like 12 units completed in the first half of July. And then the per square footage is about 7,500. And then in Taipei, you do see like transaction 15 units, like 8,000 per square feet prices is 8,575. And in Kuala Lumpur and in the southeast part of Kuala Lumpur. So this is basically, there's up and down compared to the last month. But like I say, like in the prime...
At good, it's not all in red, some are on green, so good
Yes.
news there as well.
Yeah. The most important part is a lot of data are based on if that particular month, there are lots of like first-hand new releases. If in the first 2 weeks of the July, we don't see many like new releases. So that's why a lot of these prices might be is the second-hand market. So I'm sure like Mark and Alex, they can add to that, because we have different transactions among 3 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, when you separate like the first hand and second hand, like there's about 50% of transactions are first hand, and the average price is talking about like 12,000 to 14,000. The average price for first hand, but when you look at the second hand market, it's talking about like 8,000, 9,000, something like that, or on average around 10,000. So you see the difference of 2 markets.
So I see, Macau always very hot in terms of real estate. José Carlos, do you have any questions over there that you'd like to address to this panel?
Well, sure. Plenty of food for thought. And actually, before I would throw my hat into the ring in terms of launching another topic, I'd like to share with the guest speakers some questions that we've been getting. We've been getting some very good feedback, very interesting takes on from our participants who are joining us both via Zoom and Facebook. So first question, we have half a dozen at this stage. From Eddie Wong, a question for the panel, for Alex Cheng, Mark Wong, and Nestor. What is your opinion on the development of Hengqin Island in connection with Macau? How will this increase the price in real estate?
Let's get that question for one and a half page from now. Do you have any other?
We covered it
It's
later.
in our agenda.
It's in our agenda.
On the agenda. Good point.
8.5
Okay, so
minutes,
Rebecca Choi.
Exactly.
What about
Sure.
the rental market for ME offices? Do you see a drop in pricing with businesses getting to work from home? We have partially addressed this, but perhaps the guest speakers could elaborate a bit on this.
Yes, definitely. I'm not going to ask you again to interfere because you are destroying my agenda here. Because there was also one of the things here.
You can do without it.
We'll do it. We'll do it without.
Freestyle.
We'll do it. No, I need it. Because I have fantastic data here. Okay, let's go to that one, Carlos. Amazing. Not only Hengqin, but working home and what has the the pandemic, new rhythm in our day-to-day life affecting the way how we work and where we work. So we'll go there very soon. Just to finalize in terms of prices, Macau, again Hong Kong, again Singapore, Tokyo, car parks, unbelievably expensive. I must say that if you want to buy a car park and you want to have the return of your investment, normally you need to wait 80 years because the car park is so expensive. But there are areas where a parking space is sold for more than 2.5 million Hong Kong dollars, which is a little bit over 300,000 US dollars. A bit outrageous if you ask me, but if there's no land, again, and there's not many car parks available, you have the money, you do it. But lately, car parks seem to have become a bit out of style for investors. Why is that? Is no longer a good investment, or the investors want a short time, good business instead of paying 2.5 for a car park and then the market might not go their way for a couple of years?
I remember that back to a couple of years ago, the bank offered 90% of mortgage. If I'm wrong, please correct me. They offered 90% mortgage to the purchaser. So in other words, they encourage people to buy a car park when the price was at the reasonable or affordable level. And so that's why the price has gone up due to this kind of a scheme offered by the bank. And now a bank review and adjust the policy, and the loan mortgage is now reduced to 70%. So therefore, the demand for the car park for investment has reduced quite a lot because the cost and the price has gone up.
I think,
Mark?
Yeah, for the 2.5 million per car park spaces is quite extreme cases. They only happens in some of the crowded area in Macau or the old town areas. In general, it's around 1.5 million to 2 million in general. Some of them will be cheaper in Taipei area. So I think Macau is a pioneer on the car park investment around the region. Actually, it's happened maybe a decade ago. And after that, Hong Kong follows. And then their car parks for one car park spaces can be even sold for more than 7 million, which is much more crazy. So I think comparing the rental income or the hourly parking rate of two cities today, Macau is relatively less attractive in terms of the investment yield. So that's why maybe a reason why the investment sentiment for car park spaces in Macau is lower, but most of them are buy for their self-use. Yes.
So, real estate, property in Macau, going a little bit down. Business, not frankly bad. It's still okay, but a little bit down. I have numbers here. Despite all the resilience, residential market was affected, of course. In the first 6 months of this year, 3,040 transactions related to home purchases were made. That means 21% drop year over year. And good thing is, the good news of the week here in Macau, and we are all very excited, is the return of tourist visas, seen as fundamental to the economic recovery, fueled by gains in Macau's strongest industry, the casino gaming. Of course, normalization will still take time, but the return of tourists from the continent, from the mainland, the cornerstone of our economy, will naturally have an impact as well on real estate. What can we expect in the short to medium term? And hopefully nothing wrong will go again, no second or third waves. If with the return of the tourists, what can we expect? Let's get back to the effects of the pandemic. Employees across Asia Pacific, and answering to you, Zé Carlos, have adapted to extensive work from home arrangements. An average of 68% of employees surveyed regionally worked from home. According to Jones Lang LaSalle, 61% of the same respondents working remotely said they missed going to the office and would favor a hybrid model, combining more flexible work arrangements in the future. Do you see these new tendencies as a possible hybrid solution being adopted here in Macau? Or, as always, will this city keep its traditional approach to new solutions? What do you think? Nestor?
Macau is a very small and convenient city. So I don't see like people will rely on like work from home at this moment. And then we've been in a very safe condition. I mean, thanks to all the tight guidelines. I would say like the office, the demand actually, yes, it's been dropped because of a lot of like overseas company, or even though the startup have been like on hold. But for the work from home, I don't see this will be a main trend. Like I said, like we're looking forward to a lot of actually new business to come to Macau, or even startup. In the past 6 months, like I said, like a lot of like from online business, we hopefully those can convert to online and offline at the same time. Because in the past 6 months, a lot of like startup people, like they do like Facebook sales, or even like a WeChat group or WhatsApp group, they do promotion or business. And then we hopefully those will convert it to like they rent or they buy a physical shop or office spaces to execute their business plan.
Alex and Mark, you also agree with Nestor? This is a small city, very safe so far.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially like we, unlike the other country, we spend like 1 or 2 hours on traffic. So like we don't see the like a kind of a demand for like to work from home. So especially you need to consider the technology as well. So like when especially like I remember like in March or February, when everybody like work from home, they don't even know how to deal with the IT issue. So this is kind of a hassle like amongst the staff, I believe.
So I wanted to be nice to my colleagues on Macau Business magazines, but I need to follow the experts. Working from home. Sorry, no can do.
And also maybe this is the culture. We like to meet in person. I mean the
Yes.
local culture. I think a lot of times business also have to follow the city's culture. We always like, Paulo, can we go to maybe a meeting at Westin, like for the first round of golf, like 9 holes, you know. So we need to meet, you know.
Indeed. Having said that, let's go to Cheng. So,
this is the
before let's talk of Zhuhai. So Macau is between Zhuhai, the city next to Macau, on the other side of the border, and between Zhuhai and also Cheng Highlands. What is the reading that you do with Zhuhai?
This is also in July. We are compared to the last graph. This is also about the transaction in July. So you can see like Doumen, which is like the northern part, and then the high-tech area, which is going to be the future that they mentioned about. There might be a bridge from Shenzhen to Zhuhai area. And high-tech area so means that there are a lot of high-tech companies, and also there are 6 universities in that area. And you can see 3 trade zones, Shizimen and Hengqin, that 3 in the right lower corner. That is in July itself. It has 792 units recorded, like purchased in only July, the month of July. So basically, you see the high-tech zone also have 994 units been sold. And then the Jingwan area, which is near the airport area, the Zhuhai airport, that is also 995 units sold. So we are showing this as a figure that to show to the audience and everybody here that actually, you know, in the Zhuhai area is also quite popular. People are buying as well. And among the 3 trade zone area, Shizimen and Hengqin, actually a lot of Macanese investors are buying in that area.
Yeah, I like, sorry to interrupt. Like I saw like a trend like in Zhuhai. I know like most of the buyer, they buy it without viewing or visiting the property. They through like the online channel and before they make the decision. Right, so this is kind of interesting.
VR, something like that.
Sorry?
So use VR and
Yes,
virtual tour.
yeah. Use the Facebook Live, like here we use Facebook Live. They use another app like to visit through their iPhone, through their phone.
So a lot of activity, a lot of transactions, property transactions on the other side of the border, and actually there's already some Macau people that even residents of Macau without a Chinese nationality, so with other nationalities, including some Portuguese as well, living in Zhuhai.
That's correct.
Because it's easier. It's sometimes it's easy to cross the border. Of course, the Lotus border is easier to cross than the Inner Harbor one, but a lot of people investing in. It's like having an apartment in Zhuhai. It's like a weekend house along the water. A lot of people living there, but the hottest nowadays. In the past couple of years has been Cheng.
Yes.
It's anyone who hasn't visited Macau in the past 2 years, when they do eventually get here and look across the river, what will be their reaction? Wow, what's going on here? It's amazing. There are dozens of skyscrapers, and when you go to the island, which is more or less 6 times bigger than Macau, the investment that has been made looks impressive. For now, it is a little more, if I must say so, a little more than a ghost town. So a lot of buildings, you can't see many people living there, waiting, it's me speculating now, for Beijing to snap its fingers and give an order to occupy. A little bit like, you know, when China built Shenzhen. it's unbelievable. In the meantime, what exactly is the role of these huge Macau backyards? What is the real potential for investing in real estate? Will it pay off, or is it a little bit too much? Alex, what do you think?
Right. I stay positive, optimistic, like in the long run. So Cheng is like his position is a tourism. So according to the China government, and they provide like quite a lot of long gaming facilities to support like the Macau economic growth. So and therefore, if I ask me like what like you should invest in Hangsheng like as a kind of a golden egg, you can consider some commercial space like office or retail. You imagine like office in that area. There's like most of the office tower are solely owned by the developer. They are not going to sell it or strike title. So therefore, if you are able to buy the office in the very like prime area, you just keep it for a long run. So like and currently like in Hangsheng, there's about 8,000 people living there. So I don't expect there's quite a lot of like commercial activities. So that's why like it explain like it's like a ghost town like during the weekdays after working hour. So, but in the long run, like when the people and more people get there and more commercial activities, and the more important is the infrastructure, like the railway train station, like next week, like the border, like the facilities will open, and once the infrastructure is fully complete, it means like there are more people coming over. There's more commercial activities. I believe like that will have some like positive like aspect.
But someone like me would expect that someone from a central government going down to the provincial government and then going to the municipal government, one day there will be a decision. Is this how things work? So because there's tens of thousands of apartments, the towers are amazing. Every week there's new towers, but this needs to be occupied.
Take times to occupy.
Yeah, but will they open the gates and they will say, just go to Enching, we'll create some tax facilities or whatever? How does this work?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is like it's a pandemic. Actually, our new CEO, the chief, Mr. Hall, and then he's been talking about like, okay, hopefully that Hunching area will be like a special zone for like, for example, like finance or from high tech or Chinese medicine and different type of developments. And also, the way I look at Hunching and Macau is like in the past 2 months, there are a lot of positive news like for us. Like we can cross the border freely, and also like Guangdong-san, the province can freely come to Macau. And then we do expect that border. Right now at this moment, because of the transportation, like the new highways, it's all well connected from Hunqing to the Guangdong area. So we are hopefully like the pandemic will also make other cities or also the central government to see, okay, I mean, this city is a lot of like potential to connect to Macau. Because right now, the situation in Hong Kong is quite unknown, the pandemic-wise. So a lot of activities we are looking forward to will start from Macau as like, this is the free trade port, and then to international gateway. And then using Hunqing to connect it, and on the 18th, the new border will be open. The light rail is all connected. And then like for Macanese, we can travel freely to the whole China. And then they also can travel freely into Macau. So hopefully this will be a good start to people pay attention to, oh, there's a Hunqing free trade area. So back to what you just mentioned about there are like unlimited supplies, but we are talking about the demand is also an unknown at this current period. Yes, correct. So we all talk to the investor or a lot of potential buyers, they're looking at is maybe at least the 5 to 7 or even 10 years appreciation or in the future value. So versus the Zhuhai, the per square foot price, maybe residential is talking about like 40,000, 50,000 versus Hengqin is maybe 35 to 50,000. So also Zhuhai is more mature market. So like what I would like to share is just like talking about the potential. There are a lot of like new plans are coming into. So we are positive toward this area.
There's potential, and there's a lot of companies in Macau, especially big companies, already starting to have back offices in Anzac, including some gaming companies with back office with hundreds of employees. So that will probably help as well. So from this panel, in terms of investment, you would advise to invest in Anzac?
Yeah, actually, when we're talking about the ghost town in China, I have talked to my mainland colleagues for this issue before. And actually, literally, this is very common in China. And they are not seeing the short-term return instead of the very long-term. And once the policy is there, and the changes will be incredible and explosive. So that's why many mainland investors believe that Hengqin will be a good place. As what you mentioned, and some of the Macau corporates have been set up their backup office in Hengqin already. And a lot of state-owned corporate set up their headquarters there. And as the infrastructure and network, transportation network mature there, and I believe there are more and more integration between Macau, Hengqin, and the Greater Bay Area. So for the Macau corporates, they can take the advantage of the lower office rent and the cheaper talent costs in order to support their core business in Macau. And that's how Hengqin can support us. In another view, when we're talking about the diversification of Macau, and with the future support safe, imagine if a foreign visitors, they can take a flight to Hong Kong and then go to Hengqin by the Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau bridge, and then spend a day pay in Changlong, and then go back to Macau, and then stay in a nice resort and have a nice Portuguese restaurant, and then go to gambling, maybe, take something home by ferry and go back to Hong Kong. This is how we can do a packed tour within the region and can extend the length of stay of the visitors in the region, which can diversify the economy of Macau. That's the vision.
Let's hope so. But like someone wrote this month in the Macau Business Magazine, diversification of the economy, so far it's a myth. Oh, it was me, sorry. Zé Carlos, any question to finalize this webinar and conference with our friends here at Rui Cunha Foundation?
Well, in fact, we have a few questions from our participants, and I would start with those more related to Hengqin and the mainland. Somehow, a question from Carlos Simões is the following: are the ongoing land reclamations really needed for Macau with Hengqin next door?
Do we need land reclamation asking more land to Beijing when we have Anqing next door? What do you guys think?
First of all, when we look at or personally, when I look at the Macau and Hengqin, it's still two systems. Even though we are still under the China government, but they have a two system. And one of the most consideration is the foreign currency control. So whether you can easily move your money in and move the money out, that's the questions. Especially for the investor, whether they can do the investment and cash out and move the money easily. And also there's 2 jurisdictions. So even though like there's a new land supply in Macau, like I think there's still attract the demand from the locals. And I don't see there's a huge conflict in between 2 places.
José, I hope it was clarified. Any more? Let's.
Yes, one question which is somehow related, which was introduced by Paul relates to the following. Is the Greater Bay Area integration on a net basis a plus or a minus for the Macau property market? Or does the impact differ depending on which segment of the Macau market we are referring to? Your views.
You might need to tell us that question again, because we didn't get it well.
Yes. So the question by Paul is the following. Is the Greater Bay Area integration on a net basis a plus or a minus for the Macau property market? Or does it differ, the impact, depending on which segment of the Macau market we're talking about?
So it's going to be good or bad?
The Greater Bay
The Great Bay Area.
The whole scheme.
The whole scheme.
I would say personal opinion would be that the Greater Bay Area in the past 6 months, actually it shows Macau a lot of advantage. I mean, as a Macau resident in the past 6 months. So we've been showing like we're controlling the pandemic and also the new administration, a lot of like policies. So a lot of people complain actually the Greater Bay Area, a lot of like problems. Like when we travel between all these 9 cities plus 9 plus 2, correct? And then there are a lot of like obstacles. But at this time, we can see like ourselves, at least we show ourselves at this moment, we are able to freely like travel to all these cities. So I would say we cannot avoid competition. We are happy to see like would be an advantage to us. I mean like among the price and also we can do like business globally. Compared to like our nearby city, Hong Kong, our price basically is like 1/3 or even like maybe less than 1/3. So I would say to open up our city to all this Greater Bay Area city actually is an advantage to us. This is what I see.
Alex, Mark, you agree?
Yes, I think for more integration can change the business, and that's why I quite agree with what Nestor said.
So then the answer is it is a plus. Yeah. Any more?
Yeah. From also another one. This relates to the luxury end of the market. Well, in that respect, supply of new properties in the next few years seems to be on the low side. Do you see that as being supportive of the capital value? A question also by Paul.
I think in the coming residential supply, if you look at the data, in the construction stage, it's just around 5,000 units, and only 10,000 units are on the design stage. So altogether, is around 15,000 units will be on the pipeline. So I guess it will digest by the market around within the 3 to 5 years. So, and after all of these units are digested by the market, we didn't see any future supply. So, but the government actually resumed a lot of land, so we can suggest them to review about the land supply. Maybe they can take some lands for auction. We didn't have land auction for long, and which can help the government to get some income in this challenging time as well. So, and let the market see what is the fair value of the land price in Macau. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, according to Savills, last week, something like that, said that Macau market was lagging behind around 4,000 apartments. So with all that was in the pipeline, we still needed to for the market to be more or less okay for all the business. We are lagging behind 4,000 apartments. But then if you say it's five years, I remember when the Portuguese administration was here in Macau, normally the strategy over a 1 week was already too long. So 5 years, we still have time then, right? So I wish we could continue longer. There are so many questions, and it is such an interesting topic, but there is so little time. What can we say? And we still have a lot of questions that we might do it on a second, let's call it, episode of this business series. José Carlos, thank you so much from helping us with the Facebook and
IT issues.
Yes, yes, the IT users.
Embrace technology.
And yes, clearly I'm getting too old for this. Well, it's all, folks. Our MBtv talk show business series is over. Our special thanks go to our partner, Cunha Foundation, here in Macau, José Carlos Matias in our MBtv studio, and of course our esteemed guests and real estate experts, Alex Cheng, Mark Wong, and Nestor Wong. Thank you to our live audience and to all of you, wherever you are. We will see you next month with another very hot topic, talk show. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot of land vacant, not used for the